Welcome to my presentation. In this presentation, we shall look at the basics and concepts related to variable expressions. So the question we have is, what is a variable? So the way we can define a variable is as follows. A variable is an unknown quantity. So a variable is an unknown quantity. For example, we can explain a variable as follows. We could have a variable as a, or we could have it as b, or we could have it as c, or we could have a variable as x or y or z, or any of these, any of the alphabets in the English language. So that is what a variable is. So these are the examples of variables. So what is the variable expression? So in algebra, we're going to use all of these to be able to solve some unknown quantities. So a variable expression that contains more than one variable is called a variable expression. So an example of that would be as follows. An example of a variable expression would be as follows. 2a plus b. When we have more than one term, we call these types of terms as variable expressions. So another example could be 3x squared plus 4x minus 7. This is an example of a variable expression. And then it could be as long as possible. It could be a monomial, or it could be a binomial, it could be a trinomial, or it could be a polynomial, and these could be variable. We could explain those as variable expressions. For example, we could have an example of this nature: 4x squared minus 5y plus 2xy minus 7. This is an example of variable expression. In all of these examples, let's say 2a plus b. 2a and b are the variable terms. In here, let me write this thing down here. 2a and b are the variable terms. In the next example, in 3x squared plus 4x minus 7, 3x squared and 4x are the variable expressions. These are the variable expressions. And negative 7 is what is called the constant term. Since it does not have any variables attached to it, therefore it is called a constant term. So let's get some definitions in this particular presentation, and then we will use all of these different terms, and then use all of these definitions to solve more examples as we go further. So what we have here is the following things. For a variable term, let me write this one here. Variable term always will have two parts to it. The first part is called the coefficient term, and the second part is called the variable part. We could also say this as coefficient part, or the coefficient term, or let me write this one here: coefficient part and the variable part. For example, if I were to explain this with an example, let's say I have an example. I have a term as 5x. 5 here is the coefficient term, since that is the numbered part of it. 5 is called the coefficient term, and x is called the variable term. is called the variable. So 5x is an algebraic term, and then 5 is the coefficient part of it, and then x is the variable part of it. So that's the way we should be able to understand these examples. In my next presentation, we shall see examples to see how we can evaluate variable expressions.